Testing. 1, 2, 3, testing. We're actually going to hold the microphone here because I can. I've seen other people do it, use these microphones and holding them like that. Little fuzzy. It's not like it's windy here, but hey. So what is this about? A lot of people are going to find this controversial. I don't care. This is my channel and I can just talk about what I want. Some people might not like him. Some people hate him. Some people realize, like me, grew up with him and reason why I'm a wrestling fan. R.I.P. to a legend. Hulk Hogan passed away today. That's part of my childhood and the reason I'm into wrestling. The reason I love professional wrestling. So actually I'm going to bring you guys over here if you want to come over here with me a little bit. I don't know how it's going to follow all the way. It's going to cut off a bit. He's not the reason I wanted to be a pro wrestler. That was somebody else. That was Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington. But the reason I love pro wrestling is the man who held this belt. It's the only belt I have that he did hold. Except he had the NWO laced on it. The big gold belt. Edge held this too, one of my all-time favorites. But this is still one of my favorite belts. But Hogan, man, I can go in. We could sit here for hours and talk about things. I'm just going to mention. I even got them written down, so I remember. So I limit myself. I don't talk about many things. I mean, I could talk about his feuds with Bundy, his feuds with Taker, his feud with, Roddy Piper, one of his greatest rivals. I mean, so many great feuds he had over the years. Earthquake. I remember watching Saturday morning wrestling, and Earthquake attacked him, and we cried as a kid, like, oh, this, those are moments. John Tenta, by the way, a fellow Canadian, John Tenta, another great big man. I'm just going to run down the different legacies he left. Now, of course, we can talk about, like, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan in AWA. I think he worked WWF for Vince Sr., if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know much about that history. He had some tries. So we can talk about even earlier, going to when he was, who did he train with again? Sato or whatever. But his first day, literally, when he went in to train, they broke his leg. But guess what? He came back, and they're like, well, okay, this guy really wants to do it. So trained. And eventually, like I said, he did AWA. Got noticed by somebody, and he ended up being in a Rocky film, Rocky 3, as Thunder Lips. Anybody remember that one? Stallone mentioned him, I think, today, too, a little bit. So that was really a breakout role. I think he might have been with WWE at the time, or maybe it was pre-WWE. I'm not sure. I'd have to look on the timeline on that one. But then Vince brought him in at one point and said, let's build around this guy. So, and a lot of people didn't like him, I know. Supposedly Sheik never liked him, yada, yada, yada. He took the title from the Sheik, actually, and became the world champ. But one of the other great rivals he had was one of his good friends at the time, and I think it was 1987, WrestleMania 3. Anybody remembers that one? And the Silverdome, the Pontiac Silverdome. Andre the Giant. I remember that. Andre ripped his thing off in the chain, and that was a Saturday morning wrestling and watching that, and I was like so shocked. Like, Andre, the great man Andre, attacked Hogan, and then they had the match. Supposedly 93,000. I think that was conflated, but I don't care about that. The fact is, it was a great pay-per-view. We can talk about Savage Steamboat as another great wrestling match on that show. But let's be honest, everybody, Hogan, Andre was legendary. Two giants in the business, two legends of the business. That went down, the slam heard across the world, as it's called. And I remember watching. I don't think I watched it in closed circuit. I watched it like on tape later. That's how we watched it a lot as fans. We got tapes back from the movie place. I think a little bit before that, we could talk just briefly. He won the IWGP inaugural title. Little known fact. He beat Inoki for that. Now, a lot of people say it was a mistake or something happened, yada, yada, yada. He only held it for a short while. He had great matches in Japan. Him and Muda in 93, I think it was. That was another great one. Hogan actually could wrestle in Japan where they wouldn't let him do stuff in North America. But then again, we turn around and let's go into 98. It was 89 against Savage. After their long feud, Savage won it the year before. I think it was at the Trump Plaza during the tournament they had at Mania. and then Savage came down, and then they had that feud Saturday night's main events where he attacked him and turned evil and blah blah blah. You know, great feud, him and Savage. Then I suppose they didn't like each other in real life. I don't know if they ever made up in the end. Nobody knows. They might not have. But yeah, it was a great feud, amazing feud, one that goes down in history. Two legends. And then we go all the way. Let's move. Again, we're just going to skip certain things. I'm just talking about the parts that I remember as a child, as Hogan. Let's go to him signing to, after years of WWE, undefeated, great matches, he left. I forget exactly why. I'm not really going to go on about that. I mean, I know. So I have so much weird knowledge in my head about wrestling. I forget some stuff sometimes. But he ended up going to WCW. Turner signed him. Like, ooh, eventually Savage joined too. Many others have brought a lot of guys over. So he had a few years there doing that, taking on guys like Flair and many other matches. Had a great run there. But then 90 was around 96. 96. Actually, I think I have the year. Was it 93 he signed? I think. Yeah. I think it was around 94 he joined WCW, 94. But then in 96, 2 years later, there was Bash at the Beach. The Outsiders got brought in. You know, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. People thought, wow, they're really invading from WWE or WWF at the time. And who's this third man? Now, supposedly it was supposed to be Sting, but it ended up being Hulk Hogan. That's the man they brought in. So make sure that's running. I'll never forget that. I think I watched it in pay-per-view sometime, if I'm not mistaken. So I had ways to watch pay-per-views with a Commodore 64 monitor. I apologize. It's like early in the morning. But, yeah, and then when he was known to be the third man, I remember Bobby Heenan said, I knew it. And I actually rewatched it again today. The fans throwing junk in the ring. I'll remember that. That was a classic moment stuff. And, you know, Mean Gene saying, like, well, this talks about the way it is. All this garbage in the ring. It's like, what's going on? It's like, you know, Mean Gene and Hogan were tied together for years. But, yeah, that was an amazing moment. They were literally, fans got really pissed. Excuse the language, but they did because they thought it was real. And he's like, whoa, Hogan, the great. Say your prayers, vitamins, you know, all that. Hogan turned heel. To one of, in my opinion, one of the best face to heel runs ever done. It was done perfectly, and Hogan had a great heel run. And then to the people that he never gave back to the business, Hogan put on a lot of guys over. People don't seem to talk about that. Let's go back to '98. Nitro, Bill Goldberg. He helped put him over. You know, easily put Bill Goldberg over. Grew to be the future of the business, which did a great job. He put Ultimate Warrior over many years earlier. Warrior ended up screwing that up and getting almost fired, actually, and screwing himself over because he was way too big head and what have you. But he was proud to put over Goldberg, I think, so, and helped him realize Goldberg was a big part of the business. So, and now, let's go years later. WCW folded. Boom. The NWO was brought in back to WWE at the time. I remember, I forget exactly what pay-per-view it was. Roadblock, I think it might have been. I don't have this written down. It might have been Roadblock. And they come in and did it big on, you know, and wow, and they try to kiss ass to the crowd type thing. But eventually, down the road, there's the feud with The Rock, hitting him with the ambulance, with the big truck and stuff. It was really well done. And then came to the match, WrestleMania 18. Now, I think there was rumors of Rock leaving for Hollywood more full-time, and fans were not happy with that. So, and on top of that, Hogan in Toronto was cheered like crazy. That, I got goosebumps. That's still a classic match. I think Cody Rhodes says it's one of his all-time favorite matches. And it is a brilliant match because, it's not wrestling holds. I love great wrestling, but sometimes storytelling is more important. And that was a brilliant storytelling match. Amazing. And, yeah, that was back in 2002, which was a big year for Hogan because later that year, on SmackDown of 2002, him and one of my all-time favorites, being an Edgehead, Edge, won the tag belts from Chuck and Billy. That was like, whoa, that was cool. And they ran for a quick, short run with the tag belts. And that was really cool. And Edge was a big, hard Hogan fan, too. So, and then we go on later on 2002. I think it was August. A match against Brock Lesnar on SmackDown. They seen Brock as the future star, which, let's be honest, he became a star. Regardless of whatever is happening in the future, that man was a star, you know? Hogan put him over in a big way, giving the bear hug, the blood pouring out, then he hit him in the head, bleeding out of the head. you built Brock, and then Brock went on, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was SummerSlam or whatever, that he beat The Rock for the world title. So that amazing moment. And that was one of the last things I can remember to my favorite moments of Hogan. Now, there's many other moments Hogan gave us. I could sit here for hours and hours, but that's just some of the moments off the top of my head that I wrote down on paper just to share with you guys. Now, some people, and I'm not going to down anybody having their opinions, but I think we at least can't deny what he has done for this business. People say Vince is the man. No, Hogan's the man who actually created it. He was the guy that was in the face, that was selling stuff, getting noticed outside of wrestling too. People say, that wrestling, that's Hulk Hogan guy. Even wrestling fans that weren't wrestling, people that weren't wrestling fans would say, that Hulk Hogan guy back in the 80s. Like, he transcended pro wrestling to be noticed as a star. A superstar, as we call it now. He was one of the first, and he transcended it and made it into something bigger, and he helped put other people over big time. People say, oh no, he did. Sure, he might have helped his spot, everybody did at the time, but he also helped put other people over. To say he didn't is ridiculous. And yes, now let's not talk about the controversies. I'm not going to talk about that here. I might not agree with some of the stuff he said in the past. He's made stupid things. Now, let's not forget, he was also on drugs, supposedly, at those times, too. Drunk and had some drug problems, whatever. I'm not defending what he said. I still wish he would have apologized for those. He didn't. And his political views, I might not agree with that as well. But I have nothing but the utmost respect. That man is a legend. He's the reason I'm a wrestling fan. The reason I wanted to be a pro wrestler was Dynamite Kid, but the reason I'm a wrestling fan is Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea. Rest in peace. And thank you for the memories. And that's all I'm going to say. We're not gonna go on the negative side of things. Sure, we could do that, but life is short. Let's just enjoy the moments we were given as our childhood. I mean, first we had Ozzy Osbourne pass away 2 days before, which was heartbreaking. I'm not one of the biggest fans of it, but I was still a fan. The Randy Rose tribute album is my favorite album they ever released. I loved Randy. I love his live stuff. Ozzy was amazing live. I have yet to watch the concert. I got it here. I just haven't had time to watch it. It's a 9-hour concert. So, but as for Hogan, it hits in the heart. I mean, oh, goodness. Sorry. It's emotional. I'm tired too, but it is emotional. It's part of my youth and why I went to the Heart Camp to train. As I did some training as a wrestler. I ended up being a matchmaker for a company locally. Then I was a photographer for another company. I'm actually looking to get back into maybe being a filmmaker or photographer for another local company here soon, just as a side gig on top of my artwork. So, but it was Hogan's reason I stayed a wrestling fan all those years. Hulk Hogan, one of the greats, won't be forgotten, and he did give to this industry. And in my opinion, this industry wouldn't be where it was if it was not for him. We can't deny that. People will, but well, you're just mistaking yourself and you're kidding yourself. So, but again, that's my opinion, my 2 cents. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because one of the greats has passed away today, or yesterday actually. But it's a hard one. But hey, life's going on. We're getting older. You can tell my generational stars are starting to die, and it's like, oh, we're getting older. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to post this here soon because this is not live. This is recorded, but hopefully this turned out. Peace.